Hello, everybody. This is Dr. David Jockers, and today we're talking about 7 ways to prevent the keto flu. A lot of people, when they get started on a low carbohydrate, moderate protein, high good fat diet, this ketogenic diet, they experience brain fog, dizziness. They feel terrible. We call this the keto flu. I'm going to go through exactly what to do to make sure you're able to prevent the keto flu and successfully adapt to using ketones or fatty acids as your primary energy source. And so, if you don't know who I am, I'm Dr. David Jockers. I am a doctor of natural medicine, and I speak all around the country. And I really have a specialty in the ketogenic diet, brain health, high level performance. And this is my beautiful wife, Angel, my little boys, David and Joshua. And so, as we jump into this, many symptoms that people will experience when they get started on a ketogenic diet really are related to this first one, hypoglycemia, where the blood sugar drops low. And when the blood sugar drops low, the brain says, this is an emergency, panic, because the brain was so used to just using sugar as its primary energy source. Now, as we start to form ketones, we will change that energy source to where the brain will be able to use up to 60% of its energy from ketones. So over time, it gets better. But in the beginning, the brain says, wow, we've got an issue. Blood sugar's low. So we need to make sure blood sugar gets up. So it'll release stress hormone, which then boosts up sugar, okay, in the bloodstream. And so that's one of the big issues. Another big one is constipation. We see that often as well because the individual isn't eating the same types of foods. Oftentimes they're eating less fiber, although they should be consuming a lot of fiber on a ketogenic diet. We do see issues with constipation, diarrhea, because the microbiome is changing over. Frequent urination, and that's because insulin goes down, so the body starts excreting more water and more electrolytes like sodium, where and in that case, water comes with it. Drowsiness and dizziness, which very much relates to loss of electrolytes and low blood sugar, muscle cramping as well, sugar cravings, flu-like symptoms, sleep problems, keto breath, and I have a video all about keto breath and what to do about that, heart palpitations, reduced strength and physical performance. So these are things that people will notice when they start to keto adapt. And I'm going to go through really strategies that you can apply to reduce that these sorts of side effects on a regular basis. And so if you're wondering what the ketogenic diet is and how it works, well, basically most of us, because we're consuming a high glucose or high sugar and carbohydrate diet, our body is using this hormone insulin to get the sugar out of the bloodstream and put it into the cells to use for energy. When we go on a ketogenic diet, it's a very low carbohydrate diet, high fat diet. It's moderate protein, so it's not high protein, moderate protein, high fat diet. So now the glucose, the sugar levels fall. So the body says, okay, I need an alternative fuel source. And as the sugar levels fall in the beginning, the brain isn't used to that. And that's when we can start to experience the keto flu. But as the body adapts to it and the body says, okay, I need to break down fat more effectively, we upregulate different enzymes like lipase, which breaks down, this is liver lipase, which breaks down stored triglycerides, so fatty acids from our diet, as well as fatty acids from our stored fat, and sends them to the liver. So lipase breaks down these triglycerides, sends them to the liver. The liver converts them into ketones, which are a water-soluble form of fat that goes into the mitochondria and is used for energy. And it's awesome. It's diesel fuel in a sense. It's got great gas mileage and produces a lot less oxidative stress and inflammation, free radical damage and inflammation than burning sugar. So it's what we want. We want to be keto adapted. So when do we notice this keto flu? Well, basically, for many people, as they start to adapt to using ketones, they will notice it typically the first week. For some individuals, it will last longer. It's totally normal for it to last for about 3 to 7 days. That's totally normal. But here is really the strategies you want to take to prevent it. Number one is you can back off of carbs slowly. So you don't necessarily need to go from a high carb diet to an immediate low carb ketogenic diet. You can start to back off slowly. If you're eating a high amount of carbs at every meal, you can just do one low carb meal first. Do that for a week. Then do 2 low carb meals for another week. And then finally, a third week, you go with all low carb meals. So you can back off your carbs slowly. You can increase your fat intake. So when you come off the carbs, so if you're eating cereal in the morning for breakfast, you switch it over to something like eggs. Okay. So that would be, in a sense, you increase your fat intake because eggs have good fat. You can put coconut oil. You can cook them in coconut oil. You can also put grass-fed butter on the eggs or something like that. So you've got those good fats. And then put a lot of salts on, because when you lower your carbohydrate content, you're going to need more salts. Okay, your body is going to excrete more, so you're going to need those electrolytes. You want to really hydrate your body well. So in between meals, you want to make sure you're drinking a lot of water. You want to make sure that you're getting regular exercise, and that could just be light exercise like walking. Okay, so going out for a long walk on a regular basis, that's so good for the body. And that's really good for your blood sugar and really good for your adrenals. And then in general, reduce stress. When you're under a lot of stress, it's going to cause blood sugar imbalances, and it's going to cause more symptoms of the keto flu. So here are the tips. Again, drink a lot of water. Also, eat a lot of cruciferous veggies. And this is where a lot of people go wrong on the ketogenic diet, is they don't have green leafy vegetables and cruciferous vegetables in their diet. So they're just consuming a lot of fats, and they're not getting enough fiber. And that can cause constipation and cause a lot of issues with the microbiome. So I recommend eating a lot of cruciferous vegetables, making sure you're consuming adequate calories. A lot of times when people come off the carbs, they don't really increase the fat. So they end up, in a sense, going through a calorie restricted diet, and the body senses that it's in a time of famine, and it will react. And oftentimes it will react by, with issues related to the keto flu, because it's not keto adapting. It's not getting the fats it needs to really become keto adapted. So make sure you're doing that. And we already talked about the electrolytes and the water, drinking a lot of water. I recommend 3 to 4 liters of water as a minimum. Okay. Ideally about an ounce of body water, or ounce of water per pound of body weight. Okay, so drinking a lot of good water with lots of electrolytes is important with this. Okay, so 3 common causes of keto side effects. I was talking about this earlier. Low blood sugar, hypoglycemia, is a main cause of these sorts of keto side effects. Also, an issue called HPA axis dysfunction, and the HP is hypothalamic pituitary, and then the A is adrenal, meaning that 2 parts of the brain, the hypothalamus is like an antenna. It's checking the bloodstream to see what's going on in there. When it notices that the blood sugar is low, it sends a signal to the pituitary gland to tell the adrenals to crank up some adrenal hormone like cortisol to raise blood sugar, because blood sugar is getting low. When that becomes dysfunctional, our body's not able to really increase the blood sugar and keep it level and balanced. And then we can have a lot of issues with keto flu. So we want to have a good, healthy HPA axis dysfunction to keep the blood sugar stable. And then also we need to make sure we've got those electrolytes. We talked about how electrolytes become depleted when we're on a low carb, high good fat diet. So we want to make sure we're using a lot of good salts, lots of good electrolytes, magnesium, different things like that on a regular basis. Okay, so again, 7 ways to prevent the keto flu. Back off carbs slowly. So, if you're consuming 100 grams of net carbs, which would be like a low carb diet, actually, if you're consuming 200, drop it down to 150 for a week, then drop it down to 100, then drop it down to 50. Okay, then you can try to drop it down under 30. So you kind of take it in progression like that. If you are consuming 100 grams of net carbs, total carbs minus fiber, okay, then drop it down and try 50 for a week. Okay, then try dropping it under 30. So you want to take time as you're backing off the carbs. And as you're backing off the carbs, you increase your fat intake. So again, you get rid of the starchy foods, you increase grass-fed butter, coconut oil, olives, olive oil, avocado. You get those good fats in, and that will replace those calories because you don't want it to be calorie restricted. Increase your salt and mineral intake, so make sure you're salting your foods well. I recommend a good high quality pink Himalayan salt okay, which is really good, or Redmond's real salt, which is another pink salt. Celtic sea salt is also a very good one. You can do different herb blends as well that also have sea salts in them. And consuming things like sea vegetable can also be a really good way to get more electrolytes in. Hydrating well, we just talked about that, really making sure you're well hydrated between meals, getting some regular movement, reducing stress. If you're going through a major stressful period of time in your life, it's really not a good idea to try to go from sugar burning to fat burning. Okay, wait until you've got, a little bit more time to rest and you have less stress. But when you start to convert into this, that's really important. I know for myself, I had trouble when we had our twin boys. We had a lot of trouble, or at least I should say I had a lot of trouble getting in, staying into ketosis. I would try to do intermittent fasting, but I really wasn't sleeping much at night because I was trying to help my wife out. And so without getting the sleep, and it was, two kids at once, and it was just a lot of stress, a lot of new things, I was not able to be in ketosis. And so I was definitely not feeling well. And so I had to make sure I was eating a lot more regular and doing things to help mitigate hypoglycemia or low blood sugar crashes. So that's important. Okay. And so if all else fails, increase your carb intake. It's not the worst thing in the world. You can go back to consuming carbs, get your blood sugar stable, wait for a less stressful period of time in your life, and then go for, then start cutting the carbs and increasing the fat and go into ketosis. So again, not the worst thing in the world. Okay, so here's how to know if you're dealing with hypoglycemia versus keto adaptation. So your blood sugar can be the same. You might have a fasting blood sugar of under 80, like 70 or 60 or 70, something along those lines, milliliter per deciliter. Okay, so your fasting blood sugar might be the same. However, your symptoms and your hemoglobin A1C are a lot worse. Okay, so when I see fasting blood sugar low, but then hemoglobin A1C, which is like a 90 to 120 day reading of how much sugar is in the blood cell, when I see that above 5.7, I'm thinking that person is cycling with blood sugar up and down. And so they're not balanced out. And so that's a major problem. Also, I'll ask them about their cravings. If that person's having sugar cravings, if you're noticing sugar cravings, you're noticing that you're feeling irritable and tired, unable to concentrate and really focus, you're having issues with your hormones, you're just feeling fatigued throughout the day, and you've got more inflammation. So you might have more pain, more brain fog. You might notice issues with your thyroid. So things like that, those are all signs of chronic inflammation. So that's a sign that you are in hypoglycemia and you're not using ketones. When you're using ketones, your blood sugar will be low. Your hemoglobin A1C will be in its ideal range, 4.5 to 5.2. You won't have the hunger and cravings. Your mood, your cognitive function is going to be really good. You're going to have tons of energy. Your hormones will be balanced out. You'll be able to adapt effectively to the stresses that are in your life, as opposed to when you're hypoglycemic, every little stress seems to just overwhelm you. Okay, it affects your mood, it affects your memory, it just totally ruins your day. Whereas when you're fat adapted, when you're keto adapted, you don't notice that. You feel fine. You go through stresses and you're like, you know what, I feel fine. I'm going to adapt to this. I'm going to function well in spite of the stress. And then you have less pain, less digestive issues, you have less inflammation in your body. So it's really important to understand that. So some hypoglycemia mitigation strategies, things to reduce your susceptibility to having hypoglycemia would be to eat every 3 to 4 waking hours in the beginning. So it's like you don't have to do intermittent fasting right away. You can work up to that in the beginning. Make sure you're consuming good, healthy food every 3 to 4 hours. Drink mineral-rich beverages, particularly between meals. So broth is a really good one. Eat hydrating and mineral-rich foods. What's rich in minerals? It's going to be a lot of vegetables. Non-starchy vegetables are a great source of minerals. Things like sea vegetable, kelp. Okay, there's sea snacks, which is really good. It's basically sea kelp with sea salt and olive oil, and it tastes great. It's called sea snacks, and the end is with an X, S-N-A-X, snacks. Okay, so that's a great one. So lots of vegetables, healthy meats, good fats, That's going to really help, using a lot of herbs and spices. And then magnesium supplementation. I find this to be a game changer for people as they're going and converting into a fat adapted state, is using a high quality magnesium. So what are the oils that we want to use? What kind of fats do we want to use? Well, for cooking, the best fats are going to be our saturated fats: coconut oil, possibly palm oil, MCT oil, which is really good because it turns right into ketones. Grass-fed butter or grass-fed ghee is great. You can use that cooked. I also like to melt it on steamed vegetables, for example, but it's okay being around hotter things because it's more stable. Saturated fats are more stable. Beef tallow, you've got schmaltz, which is chicken fat, lamb fat, duck fat, grass-fed dairy. So if you're okay with grass-fed dairy protein, that's going to be things like cheese, for example, eggs, meat, and seafood. So all great. The good unsaturated fats that we want to use, but we want to use these as salad dressings, for example, or supplements, or in shakes and stuff like that, would be olive oil, olives and avocado oil, nut oils, flaxseed oil. Avocados in general are amazing. I usually eat 2 avocados a day because they're so good, so rich in micronutrients, potassium, magnesium, fat-soluble carotenoid, antioxidants. Just avocados are awesome. Great fiber source, nuts and seeds. So these are all parts of those unsaturated forms of good fats that we want to use. We never want to use toxic vegetable oils, hydrogenated oils, margarine, for example, really bad stuff. So, okay, maintaining proper hydration, mineral balance. We talked about really making sure we're hydrating our body well, using a high quality salt. Make sure we're getting a lot of electrolytes, good high quality salts. Consume mineral rich foods. Again, we talked about vegetables being a great mineral rich food, sea kelp or the sea snacks, and some meat sources can also be good sources of minerals as well. So doing grass-fed, organic, pasture-raised animal products, good sources of minerals. And then finally, using magnesium supplementation. So the way it works is when we're on a low-carb diet, our insulin goes down, our insulin sensitivity goes up, which is a great thing because that's going to help us clear blood sugar more effectively and it's going to reduce inflammation. But also when that happens, when insulin goes down, it signals to the kidneys, okay, to excrete more of these electrolytes and more water. So this is why it's so important that we drink water with the electrolyte salts. Okay, lemon water is a great approach. I'm putting a little bit of salt in there, but lemon itself is rich in potassium, vitamin C, magnesium, okay, bioflavonoids that are really good for circulation, oxygenation. So I'm a huge fan of doing lemon water or lime water. Lemon or lime are both great. Okay, so doing one of those is awesome. And again, I'm a huge fan of doing something like pink salt, Himalayan salt, which has 84 essential minerals required by the body. Just absolutely awesome. Rich in magnesium, helps balance out our pH, regulate water in and out of the cell, as well as blood sugar levels. So if we're deficient in electrolytes, we're going to have issues with our blood sugar. But if we're providing enough of these electrolytes, it's going to help stabilize our blood sugar. So it's super important. And then I was saying magnesium is just so key. Magnesium is to the body what oil is to a car. I mean, it literally plays a role in over 300 functions in the body, super critical for blood sugar. So it's really hard to get keto adapted if you're deficient in magnesium. I find it to be so critical to supplement with a good quality magnesium on a regular basis to help with sleep, stress adaptation, cellular energy production. And the best form of magnesium that I've found is our brain calm magnesium. So I use this every day and I have a majority of my clients using this regularly for healthy stress response, healthy blood sugar, as well as helping them sleep deeply and restoratively at night, but have energy during the day. So the great thing about this is you put a scoop in water during the day, it's going to help improve your energy and your focus. If you take a scoop of it in water in the evening or at night, you're going to be able to sleep really well. It's going to help you wind down and sleep so much more effectively. So that is the brain calm magnesium. And if you want more information on how to get keto adapted, the best strategies, and really the benefits of it and how to apply it, then I would recommend my Navigating the Ketogenic Diet e-course, which you can find right on my website, drjockers.com. That's where we provide you with a quick start nutrition guide and manual talking all about the ketogenic diet, how to measure ketones, how to apply it into your life. We have a recipe book, a meal plan, tons of video trainings, lots of really, really good stuff. Again, you can find that on drjockers.com. Under our programs header, you'll find the Navigating the Ketogenic Diet e-course. So if you want more information, sign up for that. And hope you guys got a lot out of today's training. And we'll see you on a future YouTube training.